evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Wall of Power Radio Hour. We have one of my favorite recurring guests on today. We call these episodes Checkpoint Charlie. We have the great Charles Pierce from Massachusetts on, liberal blogger, author, sports guy, loves The Who. I think he's a bit of a Star Trek fanatic as well. We've got a lot to talk about, and we're always honored to have the great Charlie Pierce on. Charlie, how are you doing today?
Fine, Paul. How you doing? Is spring finally coming to the Twin Cities or not?
It is. The ice finally left us last week. It's 42 degrees. The sun's out. It feels tropical.
Well, you got the big weekend this weekend, too. You got the Final Four coming there.
Oh, yeah, and it's nuts. I mean, I actually had to go pick up I pick up my prescriptions, my medicine, right around the corner from the behemoth that is the U.S. Bank Stadium, and there was a lot of activity there. Tough to park, but it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. And, you are... It's crazy about you college hoops guys, because in my mind there's so many teams you have to cover. How do you keep it all straight?
Well, I mean, it's something that's been, on my on the radar of my affection since I was very young. So I've gotten and then of course I went to school. I went to college in Milwaukee at Marquette, which at the time was a real power. And so I've just followed it, and then I was a sports writer for 7 years. Full time, and it was just something I developed an interest in. Obviously it's easier to do it now because of the technology, but and I think a lot of the charm of the Final Four events has gone out as it's gotten more corporatized.
Yeah.
And more influenced by television and what they call their corporate partners. But I think at bottom, I still think it's the closest thing we have to World Cup soccer is the NCAA tournament in terms of how it engages people who wouldn't otherwise care.
And so I don't follow it as closely as you, but I believe Duke is out, and which a lot of people are happy for. Correct?
Yes, a lot of people find that a very happy development.
Right. They're kind of like the Patriots of the college hoop scene, right?
Yeah, the Patriots, the Yankees,
yeah.
The Trump administration, most of them.
Say, I always write down ideas of what I want to talk to you about, and then it goes completely the other way. But somebody posted on Facebook several days ago beautiful story you wrote, I believe, right after the death of the great Levon Helm, the drummer and singer of the band, and one of America's greatest musicians. And let's talk a little bit about that time that we all, you and I are about the same age, when we heard the band's first record.
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised. I started getting emails about that piece again this week, and obviously it had popped up somewhere. I remember the first time I heard music from Big Pink. It didn't sound like anything I'd ever heard before. I mean, it didn't sound like any kind of music I'd ever heard before.
Right.
It didn't even sound like it was. It sounded like something that somebody had pulled out of the 1930s.
Right.
Some backwoods one microphone, radio studio, out in the plains somewhere.
Yeah, and then you had. When you got to know and finally see pictures of the band, they look like it could have been, some of those photos that Elliot Landy took, the black and white ones, man, it could have been on a Civil War battlefield somewhere.
Yeah, it did. I mean, it was really funny. They were very conscious of and I don't want to imply that there's massive calculation behind this, but they were very conscious of this. Kind of rough-hewn, we make our own music, and we don't let anybody mess with it image. And of course, they're up in upstate New York, which is really rural. And, they had that, and Elliot Landy's a great photographer. So they were able to cement an image pretty quick.
And you wrote nicely about the picture that they had. Now, you put back in the time, 66, 67, 68, when the whole music scene was psychedelicized, Sgt. Pepper and Jimi Hendrix. And then you had these cats that looked like a bunch of yokels. And the picture in the record was with their family, which was like back then.
It was a barn.
Yeah, like back then it was like you got to, don't trust anybody over 30 and kill your mom and dad,
Yeah, and that was something they deliberately, if you read any of the memoirs or Barney Hoskins' book or any of the other stuff, that was something they consciously decided to swim against.
Yeah.
That particular tide. And, it was really quite remarkable. And what I think, the lasting impact that I think they had was the impact they had on other musicians.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, they really shook up the zeitgeist among musicians. Subsequently, you had Working Man's Dead. You had even Sticky Fingers has got their influence on it.
Sure.
Everybody went back, and of course, Eric Clapton famously showed up and Saugerties and wanted to join the group.
Which I would have been all for, actually.
George Harrison was enormously influenced by them and admitted. All the musicians admitted it.
Well, and two, then you read, you get in the backstory of what those guys like to party, and and Richard Manuel. There was no greater falsetto singer in rock and roll than Richard Manuel. And not only was he a great piano player, he was Levon Helm's favorite drummer. And you and I were emailing each other a couple months ago about that behind the music thing with the second record, the band, and when they broke that stuff down, and you would just hear like Manuel's drumming, right, or Levon's mandolin part, it was pure magic.
Well, not just that, but when you watched they would in concert they would finish a number, and then everybody would get up and move to another instrument.
Right.
Especially on Rag Mama Rag or The Wait. On the Wait, Garth would move to the piano. Mm-hmm. Richard would move to the organ.
Right.
On Rag Mama Rag, Levon would move to the mandolin.
Right.
It was insane.
Yeah. Just incredible. One of the great, Richard Manuel, of course, left this world tragically, but he was his own man, and according to Rick Danko, he was just going to burn through his money until it was all gone. But one of the great stories I remember about Manuel was he, like myself, a bachelor. I probably didn't keep his home like myself as kept up as we should have, but he was, I think it was partly, he didn't like to do dishes and wanted to save time, but he used to cook his steaks with an ironing board.
Yeah, with a flat iron. You cook minute steaks with a flat iron. Yeah. And follow those steaks down with glass after glass of Grand Marnier. Yeah, that was his monkey, which eventually I think probably killed him.
Yeah, but you know
he was living in it.
Go ahead.
No, he was living in a cottage, I guess, on the beach out in California.
Yeah.
But he obviously, he took his own life.
Yeah.
Subsequently, of course, Danko had a heart attack.
Yeah.
And, Levon lost everything in a fire and then rebuilt his career.
Right. And then I think went bankrupt at a certain point.
Yeah. I mean, and then he started doing the Midnight Ramble, which one of my great regrets of my life is I never got up there to see one of those. He rebuilt his whole. He won a couple of Grammys.
Yep.
While he was really sick, and he rebuilt, if not his fortune, certainly his musical reputation. Everybody wanted to play with the guy.
Yeah. Well, and you wrote in that piece in 2012, Charlie Pierce. You wrote a great little story about when you bought him a beer. Where was that gig?
There was a place. Yeah, there's a place called Jonathan Swift's, which was a below the sidewalk joint in Harvard Square. And I went with a friend of mine, and I went and saw Levon, and Levon was appearing with his cousins, the Cape Brothers, who could really play. The Cape Brothers were good.
Oh yeah.
And I turned to my friend about maybe 8 or 10 songs into the set, and I said, we should really buy Levon a beer. So I got the waitress, who happened to be somebody I knew, and I said, give Levon pour a Budweiser, give Levon one. So she went over, got the beer, walked up to a small place so that there was there's no orchestra pit between the audience and the stage. Handed it to Levon and, told him in his ear who had given it to him. He pulls 3/4 of the beer down at one gulp, touches the drumstick to his forehead and says, "Thank you, neighbor." And I felt like the Pope had blessed me,
Well, he did actually, right?
Yeah. It was really it's a lovely moment that stayed with me for a long time.
Well, it was fun reading about it. I saw Levon Helm maybe a little over a year before he passed. He had about a 10-piece band with his daughter and who's the great guitar player? Larry. Played with Dylan for a long time. Anyway, it was a great band, and at the Fitzgerald Theater in St. Paul, and I had seats 5 rows in front of him, and he was set up on stage left, and it was a master class in drumming.
Really?
It wasn't style of music. Yeah, it was Chick Webb. It was Buddy Rich. It was, anybody that played with Muddy Waters. Any style of drumming, he incorporated throughout that night. We've got Charlie Pierce on the Wall of Power Radio Hour. We're going to listen to a little bit of Levon Helm and be back with Mr. Pierce.
Larry Campbell was the guy's name.
Larry Campbell, there you go.
Was the guitar player.
Yeah, a phenomenal guitar player and cool cat.
Rag, Mama, rag, I can't believe it's true. Rag, Mama, rag, what did you do? I crawled up to the railroad track like a 419, scratching my back. Sag, Mama, sag, what's come over you? Rag, Mama, rag, I'm pulling out your gag. Gonna turn you loose like an old caboose, got a tail I need to drag. I ask about your turtle, and you ask about the weather. Well, I can't jump a hurdle, and we can't get together. We could be relaxing in my sleeping bag, but all you wanna do for me, mama, is rag, mama, rag. There's nowhere to go. Rag, mama, rag, come on, rosin up the boat.
The number one source of the Twin Cities gay scene is all digital. Follow Twin Cities Gay Scene on Facebook and Twitter. Sign up for the Scene Shot email blast for weekly updates and chances to win great prizes. No app is needed to view the bi-weekly web editions of Scene. It's GLBTQ media for the mobile generation. Find it all at TwinCitiesGayScene.com. That's TwinCitiesGayScene.com.
Crazy about pets? We are too. The Pet Connection Show is a great venue for fun, informative, and creative conversations about pets. Join myself, Kathy Menard, and Dr. Nicole Parole, along with guests who are leaders in the dynamic and growing pet industry, as we discuss healthcare, relationships, behaviors, and even political issues as they relate to our pets. So come, sit, stay for the Pet Connection Show, Sundays 11 a.m. to noon on AM 950 Radio, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Supporting the best local and independently owned restaurants in the Twin Cities has never been easier. You'll find an expansive list of local dining options at eatlocalminnesota.com, from classic American comfort food to authentic flavors from around the world. Cafe Latte offers made-from-scratch soups, salads, sandwiches, and mouth-watering desserts. Stop in the wine bar and enjoy a unique pizza loaded with fresh vegetables and perfectly roasted meats. Over 30 wines by the glass, Cafe Latte highlights Washington State wines and is the perfect destination for date night or an evening with friends. 850 Grand Avenue, St. Paul. Victor's 1959 Cafe has been serving South Minneapolis traditional Cuban food for over 15 years. Victor's is open for breakfast and lunch daily and now accepts dinner reservations too. Stop in and try the Pollo Tropicale or the Sandwich Cubano, which was featured on Food Network. More at eatlocalminnesota.com.
This is Gregory Rich, founder of Habitation Furnishing and Design and host of Drink in the Style every Sunday at 5 p.m. You know, I'm often asked what kind of furniture Habitation offers. Now, I can go two ways with this. I can say something like, Habitation specializes in warm, modern, raw, industrial, and organic contemporary home furnishings. But what does that mean? It means that we have some really cool stuff, and that is the answer that usually goes over better. But cool doesn't mean crazy. And I'm proud to say that everything we offer at Habitation is functional and comfortable. The type of furniture that will allow you to express yourself, but still works every day. So there it is. Habitation Furnishing and Design, 4317 Excelsior Boulevard in St. Louis Park. It's the Twin Cities' best furniture and design showroom.
Welcome back to the Wall of Power Radio Hour. This is your host, Paul Metza. My guest via the phone in Massachusetts, the great Charles Pierce. We were talking about the band for most of the first set on the show tonight. And Charlie, you were going to tell us about some new stuff you're listening to.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things that they may have been out for a few weeks, and they just came to my attention. But the first is that Steve Earle, who did a Townes Van Zandt tribute album
right
after Townes passed, has now done a Guy Clark tribute album. And since Guy Clark is one of my favorite American songwriters, I heard some of it over the weekend, and it's very, very good. He takes on the masterpieces. He takes on Desperados Waiting for a Train and L.A. Freeway, and then goes into the catalog a little bit. And the other one is the release of the album that Marvin Gaye made between What's Going On and Let's Get It On.
Right.
Which is more of a sequel to What's Going On, called You're the Man, and it is just absolutely magnificent. I think it's the best record of the year, and it would have been the best record of the year in 1973. I mean, he's at the top of his form. He's still using the musicians from What's Going On. It's actually more political than What's Going On. It's further proof, as I wrote the other day, James Jamerson is a bass guitar god.
Oh, my God, absolutely.
So flipping good.
Absolutely. There was a great little bit from a Marvin Gaye recording session back in the early 70s. I don't know if it was the song that they were playing actually made the record, but it was so cool. There's Marvin in a tracksuit laying down on a bench on a pillow singing his ass off. It was so effortless.
Yeah, well, that was the thing, and of course, the famous story about What's Going On is that Berry Gordy didn't want to release it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was too political and the music was too weird, and of course Marvin stood his ground.
Yeah.
And wound up with one of the great albums of that era, one of the great pop albums of all time. And this one, I'll tell you, this You're the Man is not far behind.
Wow.
It really he's an incredible voice. I mean, he's just he's in top form singing, and the song You're the Man, the title track, which apparently he released as a single and it flopped, and that's why he didn't release the album. But it's a sequel. It's obviously a sequel, musically and lyrically, to Inner City Blues from What's Going On.
Wow!
And it's an extraordinary piece of work, and the fact that it's finally out there is a tribute to whoever our musical archivists are this year.
Yeah. Well, and that's actually in the stores. I could leave the station and go pick it up.
Yeah, I believe so, and you can pick up the Guy Clark one too.
I will.
And Steve Earle's just a terrific musician. I mean, he's just a great guy.
Well, every time I hear the beginning,
he obviously respects his influence.
Yeah. Well, and the song Dublin Blues. Every time I hear that, I want to go get a margarita.
At the Chili Parlor Bar.
Yeah.
That's the first track. That's the first track on the album, actually.
Fantastic.
And it's the track that got played on Alamo Jack's show on Outlaw Country, the essential satellite radio program. And I heard it on Saturday. I heard Dublin Blues, and I thought, wow, I didn't know this was coming.
I had Tamara Saviano, who wrote the book Without Getting Killed or Caught. Have you read that?
Yeah. No, I haven't.
Oh, it's phenomenal. I had her on the radio show a couple years ago when it came out. She's working on a documentary now based on the book. I had one of the most amazing nights of my life back in the early 90s. I had a Tuesday night residency on the West Bank of Minneapolis, and I was playing, and I was on the break, and Townes Van Zandt and Guy Clark stumbled in, and I mean stumbled with a capital S. Those guys on a night off could throw down. And they said, we're looking for Spider John Kerner. And I said, it's your lucky night, guys. He's bartending across the street at Palmer's Bar. And so they went over there. I got done with my gig. I went over. They were staying at the Radisson Hotel in downtown Minneapolis. So I stole you couldn't buy a bottle of whiskey at midnight, but I was able to shuffle one out of the Five Corners Bar. And the four of us ended up in a hotel room until about 3 or 4 in the morning, passing the guitar around. Now, Charlie, this is Townes Van Zandt, Guy Clark, and Spider John Kerner, 3 of the guys that will be on the Mount Rushmore of folk whenever they carve those stones out. But so that guitar would go around, I'd get it. I'd play every third song.
Okay.
Because I mean, this is pretty heavy duty company, right? And so I played one tune, a new tune I'd written called "Baby Can't We Just Pretend," and Townes was going to have none of it. He just ripped me to pieces, and so. I said, all right, I'll get it on the next go around. And I remember that night because if anybody swore, Townes would go, no cussing. It was just this crazy thing. And so finally the guitar came back to me and I played Jack Ruby. And then I got the nod from the boys. That felt really good, really good.
Well, there you go. I mean, it's a Texas-based song. So.
Yeah, but it was funny because I bumped into Spider John Kerner, not over the years, who's kind of semi-retired now, and he'd always say, "Man, it was tough trying to keep up with those Texas boys."
No, I mean, I remember seeing the video of Townes' funeral, and of course, Guy Clark got up and gave a eulogy and played a song. And the first thing he said was, I've been rehearsing for this gig for 15 years.
Yeah, those guys were thick as thieves. You got to get Without Getting Killed or Caught. You're gonna.
Yeah, I just Googled it on my phone. I didn't even know it existed.
Oh man, it's just phenomenal. Say, speaking of Spider John Kerner, did you ever get to see Spider John? He used to play the Plowing Store in Cambridge all the time.
Oh yeah, I mean, we all back in my days as an alternative journalist, they never paid us very much money, but they paid us in tickets and stuff. And he was always kicking around. Bonnie Raitt was, and of course famously. That was where Van Morrison hung out while he was writing Asheville Weeks, was the Plow.
Right.
Which is really one of the only old school music clubs left in Cambridge. Everything else has been, Disneyfied and Times Squareized around Harvard Square. But the Plow remains. The Plow is an unstoppable venue.
I was there. A friend of mine was getting married in Boston, and so the party was the night before, and I hadn't seen a mutual friend. And we got pretty lit. We ended up at the Plowing Store. And against my better judgment, I said, I'm going to see if I can sit in on a tune. So the guy was nice enough, gave me a guitar, and I played. I don't remember a lot of it. I asked my buddy at the end, I said, how did I do? He said, well, let's put it this way, Metza. He says, you pulled it together by the end, and you didn't drop the guitar.
Well, there you go. See, you have to. A man's got to have standards.
We've got Charles Pierce on for the whole show down in the Wall of Power Radio Hour. This is your host, Paul Metza, and we could talk music all day long, but Charlie's is my political therapist, so we're going to get into politics for the second half of the show here. We'll be back after some music and these messages.
In the chili parlor bar, drinking Mad Dog margaritas and not caring where you are. Here I sit in Dublin, just rolling cigarettes, holding back and choking back the shakes with every breath. So forgive me all my anger, forgive me all my faults. There's no need to forgive me for thinking what I thought. I loved you from the get-go, and I'll love you till I die. I loved you on the Spanish Step.
Total Dog Company exists for people who are serious about their dogs. People who want the best nutrition and the best gear for their dogs. Total Dog Company's mission is to provide high-quality, practical food and gear for dogs and only dogs. Nothing frou-frou or frivolous. Nothing with suspect ingredients. No cat food or wild bird food. Totally dog, from head to wagging tail. Find us in New Hope off of 169 at 9432 36th Avenue North and at TotalDogCompany.com.
I'm Richard R.J. Eskow, and this week on the Zero Hour, reviewing the Mueller papers with Ryan Grimm, why Medicare for America is not Medicare for all and not for you, repercussions of Russiagate, and feel-good stories about starving children. All this and more on the Zero Hour, every Sunday night from 9 till midnight on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
It's Greek to Me has big news. They are now open for lunch, Tuesday through Sunday from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. That's right, you asked and they listened. Enjoy lunch amongst their new marketplace. If you can't join them in-house, make sure to check out their delivery services and remember them for your home or office takeout and catering. Visit It's Greek to Me on the corner of Lake and Lyndale in Minneapolis at 626 West Lake Street in Minneapolis or at www.itsgreektomemn.com.
This is New Beginnings, hosted by award-winning broadcaster and speaker Freddie Bell.
Freddie, this generation of the baby boomers, people are living longer, so the baby boomers are taking care of elderly parents.
Let's talk about your health, and specifically, let's talk about Medicare. Our show features the concerns of America's 78 million baby boomers in employment, finance, health and nutrition, and even entertainment.
Catch New Beginnings with Freddie Bell, Saturdays at 11 on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
April showers bring May flowers, but make sure no flowers are growing out of your carpet this spring. You know that bacteria and allergens build up in your carpeting, crushing hopes and dreams of healthy indoor air. Only my friends at Zero Res clean with healthy, clean-powered water. Call Zero Res right now, 952-ZERO-RES, or go online at ZeroResMinnesota.com and tell them you want the AM 950 special. Zero Res, spell it backward or forward. It spells the same.
Hello, humans. This is me, Ellie Krug with Ellie 2.0 Radio. News flash about my show. It's now an hour long, running from 7 to 8 a.m. every Monday. The longer time slot will allow for interviews of idealists doing important work in the world. Ellie 2.0 Radio. Listen every Monday from 7 to 8 a.m. My show, it's engaging and real, and it's on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Sam Turnberg. Tonight is cloudy with a low around 55. Tomorrow, showers are likely with a high near 65. Monday, mostly sunny with a high near 68. Tuesday, mostly sunny with a high near 55. And Wednesday, chance of rain with a high near 44. The Eat Local Minnesota Restaurant of the Week is Hazel's Northeast. For classically inspired, creatively prepared comfort food, come enjoy dishes such as Swedish meatballs, pesto chicken, and fish and chips. Visit them on 29th and Johnson in Northeast Minneapolis. More info at eatlocalminnesota.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Wall of Power Radio Hour. This is your host, Paul Metza. Checkpoint Charlie on the show, Mr. Charlie Pierce, all the way from Massachusetts. His fourth appearance. We love having him. And I promised that we were going to get to politics, but when Pierce and I talk, it's music, then hockey, then politics. Charlie, did you see that picture of me and Bobby Orr?
I did. That was really something. He came to your camp, right?
Yeah.
Well, he went to his camp.
No, it was the Tommy Williams hockey camp. 1968. And
Tommy Williams, first American-born player in the NHL.
Yep, and a Duluth native. So he put it together. So I put that picture up on Facebook, and I knew there was a couple other esteemed hockey players. a buddy of mine who was there chimed in and he said the other two, actually there was a handful of great hockey players, but both Tony and Phil Esposito were coaches at the camp.
No kidding.
Yeah.
They must have come along with Orr.
Yeah.
But, that's top of the line stuff for them. How old were you?
12 years old. 12 years old.
Okay.
But, I mean, that was shaking the
before you put down the stick and picked up the guitar, or were you already playing?
Well, no, I was playing, but I really loved playing hockey, but I never thought, I was that good. I mean, I loved to play, but I knew I wasn't that good. But then, in retrospect, I was playing with, scrimmaging and playing outdoor hockey with the Carlson brothers. Boo Harrington used to play with him. He was a year younger. He ended up on the 1980 Olympic team. So I was surrounded by it was kind of really in a way, maybe the last golden age of Iron Range hockey. So I made the right decision. I would have been riding the pines, as they say, as I got older. But the great Bobby Orr, one of the nicest. Did you ever get a chance to meet Bobby?
Yeah, I have. Bobby's a terrific guy.
And he's a sports
Very
agent now,
small-town
right?
Canadian.
Yeah.
What?
Is he a sports agent now?
No. He's he's retired from whatever he did after hockey.
Yeah.
Which was basically live off his investments.
Yeah.
He worked in some kind of investment firm, I think. But he was never an agent. In fact, his experience with agents was terrible. It was, he was the guy who Alan Eagleson stole all the money from.
Yeah.
But in any event, right now he's just he's a celebrity in and around Boston.
Oh, I
He
bet.
turns up at various events and stuff. He's just a terrific guy.
Yeah. Well, he had a circuit of restaurant bars back in the day, and I was reading Daniel Lanois, the great producer, Canadian musician, who produced Bob Dylan and the Neville Brothers,
Right.
and he and his brother used to play some of those Bobby Orr restaurant bars.
Oh, that's funny. That's really good. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Canada's done very well by American music. We owe our neighbors to the north a lot of really, a lot of props for the people they've loaned us.
No doubt. I mean, Gordon Lightfoot was one of my first personal Jesuses, and maybe had a bigger influence on me than Bob Dylan when I was growing up. In fact, I think if you listen to that first Gordon Lightfoot record, which is just entitled Lightfoot, which was put on about 66 or 67. I believe that was the blueprint for Dylan's John Wesley Harding.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. I'll have to listen. I'll have to give it a listen again.
Yeah, it's a upright bass, acoustic guitar, lead acoustic guitar. Yeah, I mean, if you compare the two, that's my little bit of Mets of wisdom there for you. But let's jump over to politics here. We've got Charles Pierce, one of the great liberal bloggers, authors, humanitarians, sports nut, and we got to talk a little bit about a Star Trek Jones, too, here before the show's done. I was listening to a great interview on my way out here on A1 on National Public Radio with one of your congressmen from Massachusetts, Seth Moulton.
Yeah, he's an interesting character. I think he's shooting above his pay grade a little bit, but he set himself up in opposition to Nancy Pelosi and got kicked pretty hard. And now he claims he's going to run for president. I liked Seth when he ran. He cleared a little deadwood out of the delegation. I found him an interesting guy, but I think he has ambitions that are far beyond his abilities, I think.
Yeah, although I really enjoyed, he was an Iraq vet. I really enjoyed his take on national security. And, he said something about it's not the fifth century wall that Trump wants to build on the border of Mexico. Really what we have to create is the 21st century cyber wall.
Yeah, he's very big on that, yeah.
Yeah. How do you think it's all going to play out? I mean, what is there, like 25 Democrats running for president right now? I mean, you can't keep track of them.
I mean, there are somewhere north of 20 candidates, both declared and undeclared at this point. And I don't know what's going to happen. I do think that the one factor that's being overlooked by a lot of people who are covering the race right now is that they've moved California up in the process.
Mm-hmm.
California used to be in June. Now it's in March.
Okay.
And that's going to clear out a lot of the field because California is it's not a primary you can run in on retail politics. You got to have money to compete there.
Right.
And its importance to Democratic politics is beyond question. So that's having that early in the process, I think, is going to clear the field out a little bit.
What
because only people with lots of money are going to be able to compete there.
Right. And Bernie Sanders just pulled in $18 million. Give us your take, Charlie Pierce, on Bernie Sanders.
Well, I mean, I voted for him in the primaries the last time around. Right now, I think he's. I mean, I don't know what I would do were I him, but I think for the benefit of us all, he'd be better off pointing out that almost the entire Democratic field is running on stuff he proposed, and gone off to be a party elder somewhere. First of all, he's not a Democrat.
Right.
I mean, that's the thing that that gets lost during the primaries, but he's not a Democrat.
Right.
And he won't become a Democrat. He resolutely registers as a Democrat to run in Democratic primaries, and then goes back to being an independent.
Right. What does he have?
That's okay to do once, but the second time around, especially with this particular president, that's not something I can buy anymore.
Right. What is the whole thing? Why won't he release his taxes?
Oh, that I don't know. Obviously,
that's a head scratcher.
It's because I was going to say when people don't, it's because there's something in there they don't want people to see. Obviously.
Right.
But I don't know what that could be. I mean, the guy didn't really have an income until he was about 40.
Right. Right.
Until he became mayor of Burlington. So I don't know. I don't know what's in there that might have something to do with his foundation. It might have something to do with his wife's money. Who knows?
Right. Right.
But it's clearly something in there he doesn't want people to see. And given the issue that we've all made about Trump and his taxes,
right?
I think probably the heat on him on that issue wasn't too great the last time. I think it's going to be a lot more this time.
Right. Well, I think the last time I heard somebody ask me, well, Jane's still working on it.
Go to H&R Block, dude.
Exactly. Yeah, no doubt you could do it online, right?
You can if you can screw it up online too, I guess.
Right.
You get somebody besides your wife who may have an interest in it.
What about the Mueller report, Bob Barr, etc.? What the hell's going to happen there?
Well, see, you just made the same mistake everyone does. It's Bill Barr. Bob Barr was the crazy congressman from Georgia who.
Oh, that's right. Excuse me. Yeah, that guy was insane.
Who everybody in Congress thought was passing for white. Barney Frank told me a great story one time that he was in the hallway, somewhere in one of the House office buildings with Maxine Waters and a couple of other members of the Congressional Black Caucus, and Bob Barr came by and said hello, and they said hello, and he kept walking, and one of the people Barney was talking to looked at him and said, "Yep, he's passing." But anyway, it's Bill Barr he's kind of the Winston Wolfe of embattled Republican presidents.
Right.
I mean, he was there for Iran-Contra, he was there for Iraqgate, now he's there for this. His job is to clean up messes.
Right.
So, I mean, they just subpoenaed, the House Judiciary Committee just voted to give itself the authority to subpoena the report and all the supporting evidence today.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they haven't done it yet, but now they can do it, and I think the thing's headed to the courts where it was always headed one way or another. I mean, Barr, this is clearly a stonewall at this point,
right?
Because that's what Barr does. Barr protects Republican presidents.
Mm-hmm.
That's been his portfolio his entire public career.
Right.
So, I mean, it's no surprise he's Attorney General. It's no surprise he's doing what he's doing.
Say you brought up a name I haven't heard in a while. What the hell is Barney Frank up to now?
He's retired. He's doing consulting work and giving, high-priced speeches. And he appears to be doing okay.
Yeah.
Lives up in Maine a lot of the time.
Right.
He's still married. He and his friend are still married. And he pops up on TV from time to time. He pops up on MSNBC every now and then. But, he's outside of, he's pretty far outside the hurly-burly, really.
Yeah, but,
I know he did a lot of work for Hillary. In 2016.
The cool thing about Barney, there's so few politicians that actually have a sense of humor anymore, but Barney was one of them.
Right. He was a very, very funny man, and a very smart guy.
Right.
I just, he was one of my. I covered him when I was at the Boston Phoenix when Barney was in the state legislature, and then I covered his first congressional campaign, so I got to know him pretty well.
Wow.
He doesn't suffer fools well, which is probably going to be the thing that stopped him from becoming the first Jewish Speaker of the House. But, no, he's fully bearded now. He's completely outside the like I said, he's completely outside the hurly-burly.
Cool.
And now we have a Kennedy representing us in that district.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we love our friends in Massachusetts. It was Minnesota and Massachusetts were the only states that went for Mondale in 1980. So
that's absolutely right.
Yeah.
I thought, I was very proud to have been linked with you guys.
Yeah, well, and likewise. Speaking of, if I take a left turn here, gay politicians, I think most of us are very impressed with Mayor Pete. Do you actually think that the United States, which had a hard enough time trying to vote for a female running for president, would vote for a married gay presidential candidate?
Well, he's a white man, so that has that gives him a leg up on the female candidates. Apparently, yeah. The media boomlet around him is really quite something.
Yeah,
at this point, Paul, I'm loath to say anybody can't be elected president.
Right.
What's happened?
Right.
In the last 30 years. I think he's moved himself into the top tier of candidates, or he has been moved, I guess is more accurate, into the top tier of candidates. He's going to get a lot of. I haven't seen a lot. Oddly enough, I haven't seen a lot of scrutiny in what he's done in South Bend as mayor.
Right.
And mayors are the tip of the spear. Mayors make enemies.
Right.
They can't hide. You can't. Senators can hide bad votes or hide bad positions they've taken. Mayors can't do that. If you're a mayor and some guy doesn't get his pothole filled, he's going to go to the newspaper. So I suspect that as soon as reporters start wandering around South Bend and asking people, they're going to find people who have had their problems with Mayor Pete.
My dad was the mayor of Virginia, Minnesota for 2 terms, and
I didn't know that.
Yep, yeah, a little town of 10,000. He got started.
Well, no, I know Virginia. I didn't know your dad was the.
Yeah, he got started. He was his dad ran a bar. Only child, was raised above the bar. Became involved with the school board, then city council, and then became mayor. Maybe the only person in Virginia that have held all 3 positions. But I remember, as the son of a politician, he would get phone calls at 6:30, 7 a.m. in the morning from the senior high ride. My dad's name was Elder, and said, "Elder, I can't get the television's not coming in this morning. My cable's out."
That's a small town mayor. That's what he has to do.
Hey, we've got Charlie Pierce on. We're going to have him on for one more segment. There's so much to talk about, so little time. But hang on, and we'll be right back.
The #1 source of the Twin Cities gay scene is all digital. Follow Twin Cities Gay Scene on Facebook and Twitter. Sign up for the Scene Shot email blast for weekly updates and chances to win great prizes. No app is needed to view the bi-weekly web editions of Scene. It's GLBTQ media for the mobile generation. Find it all at TwinCitiesGayScene.com. That's TwinCitiesGayScene.com.
Hi, this is Ken Hageland, host of Living Healthy and Aging Well, inviting you to listen to our new show airing on Saturdays from noon to 1, where we talk about your health and your life and provide insights to living and aging well. Each week, we provide answers to important questions regarding health care, elder care, end-of-life care, and caregiver support to help you and your loved ones plan for the future and enjoy your highest quality of life today. Please join us every Saturday from noon to 1 for Living Healthy and Aging Well.
Get out of the cold at Burger Mo's. Burger Monday Madness happens every Monday after 4 p.m., except on Excel event evenings, where you can order any burger with fries on the menu for just $6. Burger Mo's always offers fresh, never-frozen burger varieties, as well as delicious appetizers, soups, salads, and unburgers, dogs, paninis, shakes, desserts, 2 daily happy hours, and 60 beers on tap. Located at 242 West 7th Street in St. Paul with plenty of free parking and online at burgermos.com.
Hi, this is Laura with Food Freedom Radio, Saturdays at 8 a.m. Climate change is real, the soil's being depleted, and water's becoming more polluted. Knowing is not enough. time for action. Go plant a garden. Stop pesticide use. Learn about CSAs. Seward Community Co-op is going to be hosting a CSA fair all day on April 27th. Learn about innovation like organic farmer Bob Quinn, who's speaking at Common Good Books on April 8th. Or go to a barn dance in Red Wing, the Land Stewardship Project on April 27th, 5 to 9. And listen to Food Freedom Radio, Saturdays at 8 a.m.
Hi, this is Laura, and I want to tell you about my family's favorite thing. It's our wood stove. We bought it about 14 years ago from Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces. And see, the wood stove has actually paid for itself because we can keep the main area that we live in toasty warm with this great moist heat. But more important than saving money, it has actually improved our lives. Having a fire simplifies life. It provides comfort. It sort of takes the chill out of winter.
I'm Peter Solak. In 1977, I started Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, and I experienced the simple joy of warming myself by a fire. I also realized that the place and the way we embrace fire has evolved in a diversity of forms and styles. So at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, we have brought together the widest selection of our fireplace products and technical knowledge in the Twin Cities. Our mission is to use our knowledge to help you choose the design and function that is right for you and your home.
Visit Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces today and find the right fire for you.
Welcome back to the last set on the Wall of Power Radio Hour. This is your host, Paul Metza. My guest for the whole show, the esteemed Charles Pierce. Charles, let's talk a little bit about Joe Biden. What's happening here?
I hope he's having second, third, and fourth thoughts and decides not to run.
Okay.
The guy's missed his window.
Yeah.
He's completely out of place in what the Democratic Party is right now.
Mm-hmm.
I know that the Republicans who are opposed to Trump love him, probably because he's conservative, probably because he's a comfortable old shoe. But it's really time. I mean, the guy's run twice before, and he's run terrible campaigns.
Yeah.
He's an awful presidential candidate.
Yeah, but
and I think it's time for him to go be a party elder.
Yeah,
go out and campaign his head off for, school board races and state rep races and stuff.
Yeah. Well, I'm loving, we have a mutual admiration for Elizabeth Warren. I think she's doing a terrific job out there.
Yeah, she's put out the most substantive policy proposals of anyone. It's so hard in a field like this, to get any kind of traction.
Right.
But nobody's working harder.
Right.
I don't know. She's done, 60 odd town halls in Iowa, and so we'll see. I continually go back to the fact that California is early,
right?
And that early money is completely vital.
Right.
This time around. I do think that they are going to manage to avoid cutting each other up too badly.
Yeah.
And I'm very sure that there'll be no question that they line up behind whoever the nominee is this time.
What are your thoughts on Amy Klobuchar?
I don't know anything about. I don't know enough about her. I know I've seen her in action in the Senate. This stuff about her being a bad boss.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've factored that in.
Right.
And this is somebody I could vote for.
Right.
I mean, they're all somebody I could vote. There isn't anybody there I wouldn't vote for at this point.
Right.
But that's not the measure with Donald Trump on the other side of the ballot. But I think I think she's got a lane to herself a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
She could straddle the conservative progressive divide, I think, a little bit better than some of them can. I was very impressed by the fact that she announced in the snow. I thought that was very Minnesota.
I was there.
Were you really?
I was there. It was incredible. It was chill. It was cold. It was
down by the river, right?
It was right on Boom Island, right on the Mississippi River, and the place was packed. And they had hot chocolate, coffee, and tea. And I managed to park. There's a little place called the Yacht Club, a little watering hole, one of the oldest bars in Northeast Minneapolis, so I was able to get a parking spot about 4 blocks away. But it was really fun. I mean, but what I was really impressed with was the 2 young girls that were selling Girl Scout cookies there with their mom and dad. I thought that's Entrepreneur 101. It was brilliant. I bought a couple of Thin Mints to go. Charlie,
But, yeah, I mean, I
Go ahead.
I have, the Girl Scout influence on this particular race is considerable. Elizabeth Warren was a den mother, and a cookie mom, at least twice. So I mean, the Girl Scouts are, but getting back, excuse me, getting back to Klobuchar, I mean, I think she's at the top of the second tier with Warren and whoever. I don't put a lot of stock in polls right now because the polls all include Biden and he's not running yet.
Yeah.
So there's kind of there's no way around the fact that that's kind of weighted.
Right. What? Last question here with the great Charlie Pierce. Is it just me and Rick Wilson that think the Dems overall have a messaging problem?
Oh, I don't think there's any. I don't think they have. I mean, I disagree with Rick, and I don't trust Rick, but I'm glad he's making the right noises right now.
Yeah.
No, I think they've got a message. I think they've got. They've certainly got a message. Each individual candidate has a kind of different spin on it.
Right.
Which may look at this point, that may look uncoordinated, but there's 20 people running.
Yeah.
You're gonna have a cacophony for a while.
Right.
But when it comes to settling on a message, I think Warren has shoved the thing I don't want to say to the left, but shoved the debate about corporate America back in a progressive direction.
Right.
I think the Green New Deal has shoved everybody in the proper direction on climate change.
Right.
Whoever the nominee is going to have their own individual spin on all of this.
Right.
But I don't think there's any problem with the message. The message number one is not Trump, and the message number two is the system is weighted towards the rich.
Right.
I mean, I don't know anybody in the Democratic Party who isn't making those two arguments.
Right. Well, thank you, Charlie Pierce, because not only do I love following you on Twitter and Esquire.com, but you're also my political therapist, and I always feel a little bit better after I chat with you.
Excellent. All right. We'll be back at the checkpoint soon.
That sounds good, Charlie. Have a great week, and look forward to meeting you one of these days in person. Thanks for sharing. Yeah,
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to the Wall of Power Radio Hour. The show is produced by Paul Metza, engineered by Brett Johnson, recorded at AM 950 Studios in Eden Prairie, which is neither Eden nor a prairie. You can follow what I'm up to, buy my book or my records at paulmetza.com. Come out and see me play. I play every Thursday in Northeast Minneapolis with award-winning soul singer Willie Walker and sometimes Sonny Earl. Shaw's Bar, 16th and University in Northeast Minneapolis, 5 to 7:30, no cover. And if you have an event coming up or a business that would like to reach a committed and groovy audience, get a hold of me at comment@am950radio.com. And like my dad used to tell me, remember to be kind and make someone happy.